Hello again. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Michael Nath. The federal government, Federal Executive Council, on Wednesday approved MTN's takeover of the construction of the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway at over 202.8 billion naira under the Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, disclosed this to State House correspondents shortly after this week's council meeting chaired by the President, General Muhammadu Buhari, at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. According to Fashola, the approval followed Executive Order 7 signed by the President in January 2019. This is said would enable the telecom giant to complete the dualization of the 110-kilometer road. Under the same scheme, the council approved the Umuchi-Ososo Umueme Road in Abia State for construction by GZ Industries at 4.2 billion naira. Fashola said that the policy would allow a steady and sustained stream of funding for completion by MTN. The Senate on Wednesday passed the 20.51 trillion naira 2023 budget for second reading. The budget was presented to the joint session of the National Assembly last Friday. The passage of the appropriation bill by the upper legislative chamber for second reading followed the debate on its general principles by senators, many of whom frowned at the rising recurrent expenditure component of the national budget on a yearly basis. In his contribution to the debate, Senator Ali Ndume, APC Borno South, sought a thorough investigation into the rising recurrent expenditure despite the embargo placed on employment by the federal government and hundreds of retirees recorded on a yearly basis. According to him, the 8.2 trillion naira earmarked for recurrent expenditure in the proposed 20.51 trillion naira budget constitutes 43% of the entire budget profile. The Nigerian Debt Management Office, DMO, has offered 3 federal government bonds, which are valued at 225 billion naira for subscription. The disclosure is contained in our circular on the website of the DMO's office. The bonds include 14.55% April 2029 FGN bond, 12.50% April 2032 of FGN bond, and a 16.24% April 2037 GN bond. The debt office said the bond's opening date for the auction is slated for October 17 and the settlement date is October 19, with original tenors of 10 years, 10 years, and 20 years, respectively. The office explained that the bonds are offered at 1,000 naira per unit, subject to a minimum subscription of 50 million naira and in multiples of 1,000 naira thereafter. The DMO also noted that the successful bidders will pay a price corresponding to the year yield to maturity bid, including accrued interest on the instrument and the reopening of the previously issued bonds. The money supply in the economy is at its highest level on record at almost 49.3 trillion naira in August, topping the previous record set in May 2022. Money supply is now at a 9.9% gain from December 2021, when the country recorded 44.4 trillion naira. This is based on statistics acquired by Nairametrics from the Central Bank of Nigeria on the country's money supply. In its last Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the central bank explained the growth in money supply was due to an increase in net domestic assets. The committee noted that a broad money supply M3 grew by 11.05% in August 2022, compared with 8.66% in July. This was driven largely by the growth in net domestic assets (NDA) of 26.19% in July 2022, compared with 22.78% in the preceding month. The sustained growth in net domestic assets (NDA) was driven largely by increased claims on the federal government and other financial corporations and the private sector. Now, considering the multiple interest rate hikes implemented since July are intended to combat inflation and lower the amount of money in circulation, this increase in the money supply is concerning. Now, the CBN also mentioned that this recent rate hike could help slow down the pace of money supply. Nigerian companies need to be transparent by publishing their foreign exchange accounts as the country's liquidity crisis worsens. This submission was made by Steve Okafor on IBrandTV's Business Breakfast as telecommunications operating companies worry about FX shortages. He noted that by publishing how much FX they get and their rates, the country will be able to deal with the challenges of assessing the much-needed foreign earnings.
The government officials, the manufacturers, let's FX at one rate. It will remove speculation around today. What is killing the Nigerian FX market is there is a lot of ground to be. Now, CBN needs to be transparent. At one time, you remember when during the Okonjo-Iweala regime, during the Jonathan's regime, when Okonjo-Iweala was the minister for this thing and the coordinating minister of the economy, you know, there was something she did. States were always crying out of not receiving their allocations from back. When Okonjo-Iweala introduced something, each month they distribute money. They publish how much each state gets. It was there you and I knew most of the oil producing states how much they were getting. Let's publish the names and the beneficiaries of the allocation, and then audit at every quarter. I mentioned this earlier. Audit at every quarter. You have collected so effect for importing this product. At the end of the month, it doesn't take you more than 3 months to import what you want to import. How did you import it? Did you utilize it for it? The staff actually there, what are they doing? Can't each on the internet, if each company, each firm, each private organ has a compliance unit. That's how they survive. Let's collect publish the names of the people. If you don't want to publish the names of the beneficiaries, let at the end of each quarter, send out your staff. Let them go and audit those that collected these things. And I tell you, this thing will be gone.
You're watching Business Now on IBrandTV Lagos. We'll take a break now and return with more stories. Stay with us.